Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be talking about a huge pattern change that'll be impacting the United States right in time for Halloween, where we will be seeing an Arctic blast, the threat for a winter storm, and perhaps even some ice in parts of the central and southern plains. I'll be giving you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know in this forecast, but let's begin with what's happening across the United States today. And we'll first begin with the huge area of showers and storms that we've had ongoing for the past 24 to 48 hours. Notice this huge area of rain that extends from Texas and Mexico all the way into Canada, and this is all associated actually rotating around a high pressure system. So you'll notice the high pressure system back down in Florida. We got some showers and also a little bit of storm activity in the southern plains. It's all rotating around this, and we actually saw upwards of 8 to 10 inches of rain yesterday in parts of North Texas. So this was a really big rainmaker, and it is still bringing some showers and storms, even a little bit of severe weather to parts of southeast Texas this evening. So that will continue over the next few hours before it starts to wind down a bit, but we might see even a little bit more flash flooding out of that. Now back over in the northern plains, notice we have this huge area of a low pressure system, and this is bringing snowfall to much of the northern plains. We've already seen upwards of 1 to 2 feet of snow in some areas across Montana. That is now moving into North Dakota, and by tomorrow we'll see more impacts into Minnesota with the threat for a few inches of snow. But overall, you're starting to notice on the infrared imagery, it's actually picking up on the snowfall on the ground. You see that non-moving area of blue that represents some snowfall there on the ground now. So that'll start to continue to move off to the east. It will race off to the east into Canada as we go closer to the weekend. Now, the temperatures over the next 7 to 10 days, they're going to look fantastic if you're looking forward to some fall and winter-like weather. Look at this huge area that we're looking at from Wednesday of next week until Sunday of the following weekend. Below normal temperatures are likely, spanning from the Great Plains into the northeast United States, with the highest likelihood of this happening in the darker blue-shaded regions from Texas back into the northeast. So overall, good news, again, if you're looking forward to some fall and winter-like weather. Again, there will be an Arctic blast that will impact the United States right in time for Halloween. This is expected to be one of the coldest Halloweens that we've had in a few years. So some really good news, again, if you're looking forward to a cold sort of Halloween, but obviously not great news if you have trick-or-treaters with shorts and a t-shirt on. All right, overall, the cold air mass that we have in the United States is back up here in the northern plains. Really, these purple and pink colors that you're seeing over Montana, that is the coldest of this air mass, well below normal temperatures, near record-breaking low temperatures, actually, back over in Montana. Here's your warm air mass for today. It extends all the way through the Midwest into the Northeast and into the Southern Plains. Now, as we get closer to the weekend, things are going to change pretty rapidly. So by Friday evening, we're going to start to see that cold air leak down into parts of the Southern Plains and Central Plains. So it'll start to go down there, but again, notice it's a very faint blue. That means it's not going to be a huge temperature change overall, at least from normal. As we get closer to Saturday, things will definitely start to get a little bit more active with this cold air mass, because it's going to start to shift down to the south, and by the time we get to Sunday morning, it is all the way down into parts of Oklahoma and Texas. And again, where you see this purple color, that is a huge difference from the temperatures that we'll be seeing on Saturday. So again, a big cool down is coming. Once we go closer to around Sunday evening, that cold air mass will move into North Texas as well as parts of the Midwest and even in parts of almost South Texas by this point. And then once we get closer to Monday into Tuesday, notice that cold air mass continues to move down to the south and east. And eventually, as we get closer to Wednesday into Thursday, another shot of cold air is likely to move across parts of the northern plains and Midwest, and then eventually over to the East Coast, where well below normal temperatures are very likely there by Wednesday. And some of us will see our first freeze of the year as we go into this upcoming week. Now, here are the forecasted wind chills for this evening, and notice again, we have a very cold air mass back up in parts of Montana, as low as 15 to 20 degrees below zero in some areas, primarily the higher elevations. Once we go into Saturday morning, that's when this cold air mass will begin to be felt across parts of the Midwest and as well as the Central Plains. By the time we get to Sunday morning, this is going to be down to Oklahoma and the Texas Panhandle, and again, by Monday, we'll start to feel that cold air even in parts of Texas and as well as back over into the Northeast United States. One of the coldest days of the week will probably either be Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning, and overall the coldest area will be back up in the northern plains where that cold air mass is going to be centered. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at wind chills diving potentially into the upper 30s as far south as Florida. So again, it's going to get pretty cold, with the one exception, if you're down in Miami, for example, waking up on Wednesday morning, it's still going to be 73 degrees. But on the northern side of the state, it's in the 30s and 40s for wind chills. So again, it's kind of a crazy little comparison there with the cold air mass that we'll see. It's not going to really go that far south into areas like Florida, for example. In terms of the temperatures across the United States, so again, this is the actual temperatures. As we go into Saturday morning, I'm not really too concerned about any freeze areas. The only areas in particular would be back up here in the northern plains and back over in the Pacific Northwest, and as well as the West Coast, which many of those areas have already seen freezing temperatures. By Sunday, this starts to move into the Texas Panhandle and the Oklahoma Panhandle. By Monday, we'll start to see this kind of get in some of the rural areas of Oklahoma, maybe Missouri and Arkansas, and eventually as we go into Tuesday into Wednesday, a much better chance of a freeze in some areas going into Wednesday. This will be the furthest south this freezing line will probably get by Wednesday. Notice it goes into parts of North Texas, but good news, it does not get anywhere close to the Gulf Coast, which obviously it's kind of rare to begin with to see it go that far down to the south. And usually if it does happen, it's usually later into the winter. But again, this is a bit unprecedented. We've had such a hot summer, and we're about to have one of the largest cool downs that we've seen all year long. So crazy stuff there. All right, here's the future radar for the next 24 to 48 hours, and then we'll go into the long term. Notice that winter storm back over in parts of the northern plains will be moving through Minnesota through the morning hours. Eventually it's into Canada by no later than really after lunchtime tomorrow. Showers will continue, spotty for the most part, or scattered more than anything from Texas back through Michigan. And as we go into Saturday, things get a little bit different. We're going to start to see more moisture rising out of the Gulf of Mexico, strong southerly wind. We'll be watching for snow in parts of the central plains and heavy rainfall for parts of the southern plains. One thing we need to watch for is the threat for some wintry weather, including the potential for freezing rain, sleet, snow. Basically everything is going to be possible in Kansas as we go into Sunday. I'll show you a closer view here in just a second. By Monday into Tuesday, a lot of this rainfall moves down to the south. We might even get a few sleet pellets in North Texas. No ice is expected there though. Into Monday morning and eventually going into Tuesday, things really dry out pretty quickly. Long term, a very strong high pressure system will likely return by the time we get to midweek. But with that being said, it's going to be much colder across the United States by Wednesday. All right, here's a little closer look at that wintry weather. So going into Saturday evening around 6 o'clock, there will be a chance for some mixture and maybe even a little bit freezing rain happening across parts of central and southwestern parts of Kansas. By around the overnight hours, we're going to have to watch anywhere from Kansas City back into parts of the Texas Panhandle for a mixture. So maybe some snow, maybe some freezing rain, and as well as rainfall. And as we go into Sunday, a lot of this moves down to the south, and that chance becomes much lower. Now, the forecasted freezing rain accumulation is currently forecasted to get upwards of 1/10 of an inch. So this will definitely be something to watch out for. The chance of seeing freezing rain is still kind of in the middle right now. We got about a 50-50 chance for northwest Oklahoma, but elsewhere like central Oklahoma, like Oklahoma City and North Texas, I'm not expecting any sort of icing there, but this will definitely be an area to watch for from central and southern Kansas back into the Texas Panhandle, and as well as northwest Oklahoma. And by the way, I wanted to show you this graphic of the rainfall we saw in the last 24 hours in North Texas. Multiple areas picked up anywhere from 3 to 8 inches of rain. There was a very small area just south of Cleburne that received nearly 10 inches of rainfall. And again, this was all within about 12 hours. Crazy stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you've not already.